So for me, I think it's interesting with Kittle's injury, and maybe you find out right away in the first quarter if he's 100% or not. We're led to believe he's going to be fine for this football game, and we're just going to have to take their word on it.
So I haven't been able to talk about this all week, but my best bet in this game is actually on a Travis Kelce prompt. It is his first half receiving yards of 34.5 to the over. Travis Kelce in the playoffs against Miami. 5 catches, 8 targets, 55 yards. Against Buffalo, 6 catches, 66 yards, only 4 targets, 3 catches. They barely had the ball. That's all they needed, though, right? Against Baltimore, first half, 9 catches, 9 targets, 96 yards. He's averaging 72.3 yards per game in the first half of the playoffs. Averaged more yards per game in the first half of the regular season than he did in the second half as well. I was talking to someone who goes, wait, why is that the number? Because they're cutting it in half. They don't post these. This, first of all, isn't available on every book, okay?
Yeah.
But they don't post these all season long. So what's his prop? 68.5? Slice it. That's it. That's all they're doing. What they really should be doing is hanging 47.5, 45.5 maybe. And that's the way to attack. It's all I know is it is Kelce early. Maybe not Kelce late, but it's Kelce early.
No, you're right. And again, that what do you do in terms of the first or second drives, right? You feel it out. You sort of
get it to your guys.
Right. And Mahomes is as good as anybody in regards to understanding coverage. If it's not there, he'll check it down. I am curious to see if they do utilize Pacheco as much as, potentially a lot of people think, because again, we talk about his usage rate, 24 attempts in 2 games in the playoffs. The other one was 16. Do they come out throwing? Yeah. Here's the thing, too, to your point, Kevin.
Yeah.
It is very important, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, that Kansas City dictate the tempo and score first. It is imperative on how they're built this year to get out ahead of that. Mm-hmm. So we know that it's been, for the most part, with Pacheco running the football early, turnovers, and establishing that lead. But it's a Super Bowl, right? If I know it, you know it, Donnie knows it, Shanahan and that defensive staff know it as well. So does Reed all of a sudden say, you know what? We need to establish the lead. Let's throw first. Let's get that lead. Let's utilize Kelce. Let's utilize Rashee Rice. Let's make Pacheco a decoy to get up 7-3 or 10-3, and then let's rely on our defense. That plays right into your bet in regards to the over 34.5.
Let me ask you, Donnie, about 2 guys that you really like in this game.
Yeah.
Rushing plus receiving head-to-head McCaffrey-Pacheco. McCaffrey's laying 38.5 yards. But maybe the combined yardage is interesting to you. Maybe you prefer the ground, but combined total yardage, McCaffrey-Pacheco's 218.5. Is that interesting to you?
It is interesting because I started out this week while we were out in Las Vegas saying, you know what, it's not so much to me about the wide receivers or the quarterbacks. It's who's going to actually win the ground game here. What I mean by ground game is the better running backs, right? So I think Pacheco has a legitimate chance to get 20-plus carries. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey, 20-plus carries there. Now, we'll see if we can mix in some of those passes. Jerick McKinnon's supposed to play in this game, but I'd be hard-pressed to think that he's been out this long and is going to be a major factor in the game plan. Maybe spells Pacheco a little bit, and certainly that's going to make some sense. But for me, the ground game it starts with, I do think McCaffrey's going to be dominant because the one thing we like about Kyle Shanahan this year is either fantasy players or bettors. He basically is coming out this year and saying, you're going to be my lead dog, and I'm going to give you the ball as much as I can. Let's just see if you can stay healthy. And the guy actually stayed healthy the entire time, which was great. But if we're looking for that promise here, but by the way, I did like where you went with that, staying aggressive for Kansas City to open. If you take a look at a little bit of a snapshot of that Baltimore Ravens game, what was Mahomes? 10 for 10 for 11 for 11 in the first quarter right out of the gate. There's a chance that they throw to set up the run, but both of these running backs, I think, have very big games here, so the over on the combined numbers make some sense.
And that's why I like McCaffrey in the receiving game, because, again, to get him out on space and one-on-one opportunities, what happens when you have a very aggressive front seven? The screen game is going to be very imperative. And if you have a young quarterback like Brock Purdy, what better way to get him involved in terms of a rhythm? Just check down to the best player on the football field. So I think there's the potential for that. I think there's the potential to get Debo on fly sweeps as well. But McCaffrey, I'm all in on his number. I've been hot on the 33.5. When I saw it, I just feel like in order for San Francisco to win and play the way they want, they need to get Debo and McCaffrey out on the flank, whether it be on fly sweeps for Debo, and more importantly, McCaffrey in the screen game. Get him out in the open field with those blockers in front, and then all of a sudden it's a shootout.
Look, I told you the McCaffrey receiving was one of the early looks for me. I found it to be expensive. I know for you, you don't care. That's not kind of how you're going to play it, which is fine. I like the look a lot on CMC in that way. Pass catching otherwise, though, we take this to this Chiefs side, and it's something that we've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
Who is the guy, right? Let's just put Mahomes at 250 blanket number, remove the results of the game, right? That's still a lot of yardage that has to be allocated, right? It's not like Kelsey's sitting here, prime Cooper Kupp, right? DRS 110.5 we used to be breaking down.
Yep.
We don't have that here in this football game. So even if Kelsey gets his, and even if Rice gets his DRS, someone else is going to have to step up.
Yep, and that's Valdez-Scantling for me. I mean, you were talking about deep shots here. We're talking about the 19.5-yard numbers here, over 1.5 catches. It's one of the things that you have 2 weeks to get this game prepared for. And what I mean by that, Joe, is you have to stop Kelsey, let's just say from a Kansas City perspective. You have to stop Rashee Rice. There are some outside wide receivers that can factor in. If we just take a look, no longer than last year's Super Bowl. You had some surprise guys making big plays and scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl from Andy Reid's perspective. Don't count Andy Reid by scheming in to say, I know what you want to do. Now watch me reverse roles here and put some other guys in some big spots.
Yeah, it was Juju last year. Could be Valdez-Scantling this year. He's one of the fastest players on the field. If it's not him, who's it going to be? Sky Moore? Mecole Hardman? I mean, it's barren. Those are the big three when we look at it.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
5.5.
McKinnon.
5.5.
McKinnon.
Jerick McKinnon receiving.
I told that's not juicy to you.
5.5.
Tangy.
Under. Sounds like an under.
Wow, let me see if I can find the reception.
Sounds like
prop.
an under.
Come on, that's one, Donnie. That's
By the way,
reception.
real quick, breaking news before we go to the break. Taylor Swift in the building.
Oh, wow, I can't.
Let's go, T-Swizzle. Let's go, T-Swizzle,
Karma,
baby.
karma.
We're mastermind, the fearless. We're back.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course, you're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing one touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, 7th in assists, and 8th in field goal percentage not make the all-star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as the coordinator, one as the head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Pro football today, Super Bowl 58 special. Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi here having some fun. As you guys know, we were out in Las Vegas doing big things all week long, representing the network. It was a fantastic time. And, Joe, we got some great interview footage out there, man.
Unbelievable this week, Donnie. We had Alabama's Mark Ingram. Donnie, Kevin and Ben talked to him this week. We'll get a take.
Yeah, let's have some fun with it. Let's let the tapes roll here. This is Kevin and Ben talking to Mark Ingram from Radio Row.
Right here on Radio Row in Las Vegas, Mark Ingram joins us now on the SportsGrid set, Ben Stevens and Kevin Walsh as well. Mark, we appreciate you being here. We are live in Las Vegas, the gaming capital of the world. I know you are a partner of the American Gaming Association. So is SportsGrid.
Yeah.
We are teammates.
Family.
As we
Yes.
That's
Team.
dare I say, big trust.
Big.
Oh,
In
now,
the flesh.
You just made my day.
Yes,
the fact that we
sir.
can do that, and it is a true partnership, is beautiful. Being in Las Vegas, sports gaming capital of the world, when we get ready for the Super Bowl, what do people need to know about what the AGA is trying to accomplish?
AJ is trying to tell you guys, bet responsibly. Know what you're betting. Understand your bet. Have your limit. Don't go over your limit. And it should be an added form of entertainment. Have fun. Don't let it stress you out. It should not take away from the enjoyment of the game with your families.
Yeah.
AGA estimates nearly 68 million people will be gambling on this game.
Yeah.
Nearly $23 billion.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Heavy money.
Heavy.
But we encourage you to bet responsibly.
Safe and responsible.
Yeah.
That is always the key.
That is the
even
way.
for Super Bowl 58. So let's dive in to Super Bowl 58. You've been around the league for a very long time, 12 years in the National Football League. You have seen the Kansas City Chiefs. You have seen the San Francisco 49ers reach this place in Las Vegas. What do you expect to see on Super Bowl Sunday?
It's going to be a heavyweight title bout. Rocky versus Apollo. Rest in peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be a heavyweight title bout, man. And you talk about the Chiefs being able to play their best football at the most important time. Like, everyone was questioning them throughout the season.
Yeah.
But they went into Buffalo, dub. Went into Baltimore, dub. Like, they are just balling on a different level right now. The receivers and Mahomes, they're all on the same page. Pacheco, what he's able to do in the run game, their defense is probably the best defense that they've had in this Mahomes era.
Yeah.
So then you talk about the Chiefs, right? Like McCaffrey, what he's able to do affecting the game. If he gets going, that opens up everything else for Ayuk, for Debo, for Kittle. You talk about Trent Williams, you talk about Brock Purdy, what he's able to do. Their defense, Fred Warner. Like, that D-line they got, nasty.
Yeah.
Bro, this is going to be a heavyweight title bout. As a fan, I want the Niners to win.
Okay.
I'm putting money on the game.
Oh.
I'm going Chiefs.
Plus 2.5 for money line
I'm
outright.
going Chiefs.
Okay, that's a
I'll
plus
take the
110
point.
ticket.
I'll double bet it. I'll do
that.
money line and I'll take the points too. Two separate bets.
I'll see you at the window.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm taking it. You giving me points with Patty, my homie over there?
Here's the deal, though. They got more points from Baltimore.
Oof.
I'm not going to get over that game for a while.
I'm hurt by that game,
But,
man.
okay, so you are the perfect person to ask. Lamar is excellent, spent the whole offseason defending him, and then he proved it right. I don't mind him throwing the ball 35 times. But that team's ability to run the football is so incredible, and I felt they left Kansas City off the hook in that game. For you, knowing so many of the guys involved, how did you feel watching that AFC title game play out?
I felt like I wasn't watching the team I had watched all season long.
Exactly.
I don't know what the game plan was. I heard that it was some run, pass checks.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. But in my eyes, your DNA is physicality, running the football, and then using the play action, and then using the drop back pass to complement the run game. You know what I mean? Because that's when it opens up things downfield for Lamar to be able to use his arm talent. But besides for the game plan and the lack of running the ball, they also had some inopportune turnovers, some personal foul penalties that adds 15 yards on a 30-yard play, takes 15 yards away from a 50-yard play. They had like 5 or 6 personal foul penalties. They beat themselves in a lot of ways. And when you have a Kansas City team with Andy Reid that's playing at a level like they were, they did nothing to beat themselves in that game.
It's true.
They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have penalties that set them back behind the chains. You're 1st and 20. It's harder. You don't have a playbook. You don't have a play in the playbook for that. You know what I mean? You got to get back on schedule. So I just felt like it was a team that I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They beat themselves. The game plan wasn't to what it was the entire season, and that proved costly for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have a bad game in the playoffs, you go home.
Yep.
It's just
Listen,
It's still eating them up. I see it.
Number 1 overall seed in the AFC, 13 wins, the most in the National Football League throughout the regular season. 4 personal foul penalties, 3 turnovers. That was not Baltimore
That's
football.
not winning football.
16 rush attempts as a team, only 3 for each running back, Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. I have a feeling if Mark Ingram is in that backfield, it's more than 3 carries for a running back.
Pull my teeth out now. Like 6 carries between the backs? Like and 3 turnovers and 4 personal fouls?
Yeah.
You cannot win like that.
No.
Versus Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce going for $120.
So let me ask you, Lamar Jackson is more than likely going to win his 2nd NFL MVP in the regular season. Number 1 overall seed, twice in his NFL playoff career, yet to reach a Super Bowl. What is it going to take for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get to that mountaintop?
Listen, it's a team game. So everyone wants to put it on Lamar. Like, the quarterback can't win by himself. It has to come from the coaching staff, putting a great game plan together, the players executing the game plan, the players having the wherewithal not to create personal foul penalties and create things that will hurt the team in the game. You cannot beat yourselves. In order to win, you have to stop from beating yourself. And in these playoff games that the Ravens have lost, even in 2019 when I was there, we beat ourselves. Turnovers, drop passes, personal foul penalties. These are things you cannot have in the NFL tournament, because if you the thing that's special about the NFL is it's a 1-game elimination.
Yeah.
You lose that game, you go home.
Yep.
Other games, the best team will probably win 4 out of 7. The best team in baseball will win 4 out of 7.
Yep.
The best team in hockey will win whatever. You know what I mean? In football, you have to be at your best at the most important time of the year, which is right now. And what I'm thinking is this is callousing Lamar. This is creating a monster. It's creating a hunger for Lamar, and he will be back. He will be in this game, and he will win a Super Bowl. It's not happening as soon as we want it to, but it will happen.
I believe that, but if we're talking winning football, Alabama, look, for any other program, great year for them, not what they wanted, but Milroe's back. But the coach is different. Kalen DeBoer in for Nick Saban. I love Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he can do for another year. We're far out, but we're never too far away to talk college football.
Never.
How do you feel about Milroe and DeBoer heading into next season?
Listen, shout out to my coach, Nick Saban, man.
Absolutely.
The greatest college coach has ever done it.
Undoubtedly.
Congratulations to you on your retirement. He deserves it. Gets time to spend time with Miss Terry, his family. He's out here trying to boogie board. You know what I mean? He deserves all of this. He has much more things going for him besides for football, so I'm glad he gets to enjoy his life.
Yeah.
But we are also excited for Coach DeBoer. He's been a winner everywhere he's been. Was just in the national championship game with Washington, and we're blessed and appreciative to have him leading our program. He's done a great job of weathering the storm of everything that has happened since he's been the head coach. And Jalen Milroe is a baller. I like to call him Jalen Millie Milroe, Millie Rock Milroe.
Ooh, I like
but
that.
No, he is the man, man. And I'm excited to see what he'll be able to do in this DeBoer offense. We saw what Penix was able to do the last 2 years, airing the ball out. But you add the dynamic athleticism of his legs and how he can affect the game as a runner. He's usually the fastest and most dynamic player on the field for any field he steps on, and he's a quarterback. And then he still has the arm talent, and he'll continue to grow. He showed so much growth from the first game, 2 games, until the last end of the year. If he hadn't had that growth, we wouldn't have been in the national championship. So I know what he's built, what's in his DNA, and how he works. He will have that same amount of improvement going into next year. And that's something that I'm excited about. It's something that all Crimson Tide country should be about, because we don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Blitz, Bama, Blitz.
That is for sure. You're talking to 2 big Jalen Milroe guys. We both believe he will have one of the 5 best prices to win the Heisman Trophy from the odds perspective entering 2024. Last question for me.
Shout out AGA.
Shout out AGA. A responsible wager, perhaps, on Jalen Milroe, preseason Heisman favorite.
Yes, sir.
You just wrapped up your first year with Big Noon Kickoff, covering college football from the media side now. So many sweeping changes coming to CFP in 2024. Conference realignment, 12-team college football playoff in the expansion. What do you expect to see next year in college football?
I think it's going to be exciting, man. Just think of the realignment we've had. Like, yeah, the RIP to the Pac-12, but USC, Ohio State, Washington, Oregon, you know what I mean, Michigan, that's a power conference right there. Then you have Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC. Like, we're going to see a lot of marquee matchups, and we're going to see a lot of great matchups, and then we get an expansion of the playoff.
Yep.
So these bowl games who have been irrelevant, people opting out, now we have more incentive to play in these in these playoff games because now it's 12 teams. So I think if college football is a stock, I'm buying it.
I like that.
If college football is a stock, I'm buying it.
I agree.
I'm going in too.
You know what I mean?
You're looking for investment.
Hey, all right, is it going public?
I take
You know
it.
what I mean?
If it is, we'll be there. I have one question. It might be ridiculous, but just humor me. If you played in a high school football game tomorrow, what does that stat line look like?
I'm probably running for 400 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Yes,
It's like,
that's what I'm looking for.
You know,
oh, 8 carries. I'm going
even
100
Todd Monken's offense you're taking
yes.
off. Yes.
I'm going for 200 yards on the 3 carries that they had.
You know, we get in the tram on our way here from our media hotel, and he goes, I've got a very insane question to ask Mark Ingram, and I wonder what he'll say about it. And he said what the question was. I was like, that's brilliant.
No, it's an awesome question.
Yeah.
Bro, like, a grown man's strength is different from high school. Even from college and high school is different.
Yes.
Them kids not about to tackle me.
No.
So you
Certainly
block
not.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I think us two out there.
I played a
former
little
high school
offensive line in
offensive
high school.
lineman.
Hey,
Backup high school quarterback?
let's go.
I'll read it to
Run
you.
the option, you know what I
Easy.
mean?
Easy.
You pulling?
No
Oh.
problem.
Come on. Off the
36
inside hip.
power
up
sweep.
To the crib.
You could lateral to me if I
mean, that's
catch
good.
it, I
Your
could
pocket
score.
still. You got
Still
it.
got it.
You got it.
Still got it.
You're putting up Derrick Henry high school stats. There's
100%,
no doubt about it.
12,000 yards rushing
Easy.
in a career. His high school numbers are ridiculous, by
crazy.
the way.
But one of my favorite
Every numbers he's high school, college, league, his numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a mutant running the football. He's a DN playing running back.
2
That's
Heisman
uneasy.
winners out of Alabama.
Yep,
Mark
roll
Ingram,
tide.
Derrick Henry,
King
out of the
Henry.
running back spot.
Soon to be Milroe.
Soon to be Millie Milroe. Millie Rock.
Yeah, hit a Millie Rock
Yeah,
as we get out of here.
Yeah.
Kevin Walsh, Ben Stevens, Mark Ingram, live from Las Vegas on Radio Row.
Yes, sir. That boy hit it. He had it. Yeah.
He's from Queens. He knows what that's
He
like.
knows
You know?
so. He knows so.
Great interview out there with Mark Ingram, talking with Ben and Kevin there. It was a lot of fun last week in Las Vegas. And one thing we could probably say in particular, Joe, Mark Ingram was on the Baltimore Ravens. He would have had a problem with that game plan against Kansas City.
Absolutely. He brought it up in regards to that. He said that they didn't run the football enough. Maybe more Christian McCaffrey on the ground if you're Mark Ingram, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it was interesting times out there all the way around. A lot of fun here from the SportsGrid crew. But you know what's coming up pretty quickly here? Super Bowl 58. We already told you Taylor Swift's in the building. The crowd's starting to filter in. The anticipation of the national anthem, the coin toss, and away we go. Don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on the SportsGrid Network. We got you covered for Super Bowl 58.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back leads point one touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, seventh in assists, and eighth in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as a coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. And I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Quick little segment here before we get to hour number 3 as we continue down the path here to Super Bowl 58 live from Las Vegas. It's the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the lines have been on the move. Well, really, they weren't for an entire week. But late in the week, we talked about it multiple times on the set. When was that big money going to come in? When was the sharp money going to show up? Were the public players going to influence Super Bowl 58? And apparently, we got some action here on the side. Opening number 2 weeks ago after the AFC-NFC Championship game showed us a San Francisco price of -3. Now, what happened after that? Right away, that number got hit from 2.5s down to 2, 1.5s down to 1. The interesting part about this overall, guys, was we didn't know where that money was going to come back from, and it looked like it was a rebound here for the San Francisco 49ers side. We moved from 1s to 1.5s to 2s back up to 2.5s. The one thing that we didn't have take place, and the one thing that we were waiting for is, where are we going to see a -3 appear back up on that board? We never saw that here. Now, the one thing that we see is that 1.5 goes right to the 2.5s to 3s, right back here. The interesting part was late week action here. While we were in Las Vegas having a lot of fun breaking down the numbers and doing the shows, we didn't have anything here to sort of talk about because that line was frozen roughly at 2.5. Now, the interesting thing is here, as we're approaching and we got on flights back on Saturday before Sunday kickoff, that's where we saw the motion here, and we saw San Francisco get down to a -1.5 point favorite. But throughout the day here on Super Bowl Sunday, the rebound for the San Francisco 49ers, the 2s start to show up again. The 2.5s start to show up again as San Francisco is the clear favorite side now. The one thing that we did know from opening spot here 2 weeks ago when we first saw the numbers was we didn't think we would see a Kansas City favored side. We never got to that point. It only got to about a +1.5 favorite for Kansas City. But it was interesting for that late money to push it from 2.5s down to 1.5s. Now, the one thing that could have been wild is if the Kansas City Chiefs actually were the favorites here at some point on Super Bowl Sunday. That hasn't happened. Let's see where we get to kickoff, but the odds definitely are in motion on Super Bowl Sunday. We'll be right back for more Pro Football Today.
right here on Pro Football Today with you. It's Kevin Walsh, it's Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Lisi. We're happy to have you on this Super Bowl Sunday. We are going to be live until kickoff, DRS.
I can't wait to get it popping here at this point. We are not too far away. Roughly an hour and a half until kickoff here. The biggest spectacle in all of sports. Now, we haven't talked about this a lot. Record breakers maybe in this football game with rushing, receiving, we'll see. But, Joe, the audience is going to be absolutely magnificent in this game. What are we thinking about, number one? 49ers home field advantage, Kansas City home field advantage, and what's your number? What are we looking at, 130 million people watching the game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodness.
We were out there throughout the week, and I saw a lot of Kansas City faithful in regards to the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce connection, and then later in the week, the San Francisco contingency decided to show up, and we saw a ton of 49er jerseys late yesterday. I think we're going to be 50-50 in regards to that. I do feel, though, that the public is on Kansas City because of Pat Mahomes, Taylor Swift. You get more eyes in regards to the product, the feel-good story with Travis Kelce, but I'm bucking the trend.
Swifties are in the building, no doubt about it. We'll see where that line, just talked a little bit about odds in motion, that previous segment. It'll be interesting to see where these numbers finalize, just getting the people updated out here. DraftKings out there at a -1.5, FanDuel 2.5, other books and outlets listed at -2. It's pretty clear, Joe. We're not going to see a -3 at this point. And, of course, we're not going to see Kansas City as the favorite. But going from a perspective of how do we think this game is going to open up for myself, I'm looking at this game and having a lot of fun for one reason. I'm hoping and praying for a quick start in this game because I love the over 23.5, and I think you think a hot start could be in the cards as well.
Yeah, I altered it up to 50, 50.5, 52.5 respectively. I have some bets and parlays. If it does get off the rails, 56.5 at plus money. It's plus 290 on certain bets. So I believe that San Francisco wants to run up-tempo, put the pressure on Pat Mahomes, something that they haven't really had to do much of the playoffs because they were able to run the football with Isaiah Pacheco, get some early turnovers in the first half, and really dictate time of possession and establish drives to allow Steve Spagnuolo's defense to take over. If they are, let's say, in a deficit 10-0, we heard Jason Lockenfleur said that he didn't believe Andy Reid might panic and still utilize the rushing attack, and that might be true. But from a weapons perspective, and we said it time and time and again, it's one thing if it's third down, as we welcome in our radio audience here in regards to
Bring them in.
Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside, Pro Football Today, bringing in, talking about Super Bowl 58. That's what's going to be interesting to me. If it is long third down situations, how do they utilize the other weapons? And if they can't utilize Pacheco and take him completely out of the game plan, what does that mean?
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to watch it play out. 2 weeks to get ready for this football game. Now, Joe, got a couple more minutes left in this segment. We're going to get to Kevin's in the next one, but Sunday morning crunch time, people.
Juicy.
Right back at it here. Sunday morning crunch time. We're going to go ahead with this, Joe. And you know what? Do you want me to lead off?
Yes, you lead off.
So I'm going to lead off the equation at this point. So Sunday morning crunch, we've done it all season long. What a better way in time here to absolutely finalize this football season by getting some winning bets out to the people. Now, typically for myself, Joe, you know what I did the entire season? It's been always props for players here and individual players all the way through the season. I'm going to change that up a little bit. So let's get started first. How about this? Both teams to score a touchdown in each half. Plus 120.
That's nice.
Come on.
Like that.
Anyway, it could be a defensive touchdown. It could be rushing the football. It could be throwing the football. But I think it made some sense here. So instead of me individually going to a player, I'm like, you know what? Let's go out with an extravaganza here in the final game for Super Bowl 58. I'll start with both teams to score a touchdown in each half at a plus 120. Number two, I've loved this all season long. It's Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes. And for me, you take a look in the playoffs. He hasn't actually hit that number, 1-1. But the thing we like to play, its volume and its chances sometimes are what matters more. If I believe, Joe, we're going to get 4 touchdowns out of the 49ers tonight, and I believe that, all right, McCaffrey gets at least 1 on the ground. That leaves the capabilities to grab at least 3 touchdowns in the air, and I think I'm going to grab that 1.5 with Purdy. I'll take that. But how about this one? Deebo Samuel. At times, it's a fluctuating market. plus 170 anytime touchdown. And, Joe, what do we love about Deebo Samuel? The chance to catch a touchdown pass, but more importantly, one of the few NFL players, particularly at the wide receiver position, that can get one on the ground with a goal line carry. I think I get it done. I'm looking for a clean sweep here, K-Dub and Joe.
I actually like that.
Yeah,
I like
really?
his break. I do. Now, let me just say, because we got into Sunday Morning Crunch a little bit late today, we typically talk a little spread, and we got a dynamic spread. Chicken franchise, we got some mashed potatoes.
You like it? I brought it in for you.
Sandwiches,
There's
as
a lot
they
more
say.
out there.
I know.
Since you last been out there.
Cake.
There's a lot more than
Spreads for Super Bowl 58 are off the hook. I know we're limited on time. Let me go in regards to my Sunday Morning Crunch. Brock Purdy over 246.5 in terms of the passing attack. We talked about his ability to break out 6 300-yard performances. I think they want to get him involved in terms of this scheme and rhythm early. That could be checkdowns. Get him involved. I think he could blow right through that. I know statistically Kansas City very good against the pass, but San Francisco has the weapons to challenge over the top. Love Brock Purdy over the 246.5. Passing, Deebo Samuel. Donnie talked about the receiving receptions. How about on the ground? His ability to run sideline to sideline. Only 3 rushes, 7 yards in terms of the game against Detroit. But during the regular season, Deebo Samuel did get over this number 5 times. San Francisco's record, guys, 5-0, and they won those games by an average margin of victory of 22 points per game. And my guy, Christian McCaffrey, lined open up in the receiving number, 34.5 down to 33.5. I have them altered to 50 and 60 respectively. I think they utilize them to get that defense running sideline to sideline. One of my favorite bets on the board.
Now, by the way, if you take a look at the Sunday Morning Crunch, Joe and I both all loaded up on those 49ers here. Kevin, crunch it for us today, brother.
Yeah, got a chief in the mix there, which is Rashee Rice's anytime touchdown. I made it an all-anytime Sunday Morning Crunch for the people. You got to trust it, TRS, I've been told. You got to trust it, even if it looks like it's moving and wiggling on me. We're going with Rice's anytime touchdown. It's the laugh. Come on, Donnie. I know I am. I know. Don't worry about it. Rashee Rice anytime touchdown with the plus 140. Look, the wide receivers have been the primary touchdown scorers against the Niners all season long, and he led this team in targets inside the 20 and inside the 10 throughout the regular season. Rashee Rice at plus 140 is where I find value for KC. I understand the Kelsey love. I'm not saying he can't get in. I prefer to have my money on Rice. Similar situation with Deebo against McCaffrey. Deebo scored at a McCaffrey level to end the season, removing Week 18. 10 touchdowns in the final 8 games of the season, scored in 6 of 8, never missed in back-to-back, and didn't get in against Detroit, but not for the lack of trying. Led that team in receiving yards and received a goal line carry. And then a long shot for the people. Give me Eli Mitchell. 10-1, because, of course, this has moved against me up to 13-1. Anytime touchdown, Donnie, taking a prayer on Eli Mitchell. Had one last week. Maybe it happens again.
I like where it's going here because, again, the interesting part about this, you see the 2 players on that list from San Francisco, 1 from Kansas City. Kevin, the one I think you would appreciate, 1 touchdown apiece for each of these teams, a plus 120. How about that in each half?
I like that move.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot.
Rocking and rolling, baby.
We got to figure out the
Close it out.
1-1.
Close it out.
Are you on the 1-1?
Oh, absolutely, plus 270.
Right back for football today.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing one touchdown pass, right? He can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on him.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, seventh in assists, and eighth in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as a coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. And I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid, and I tell you right now, I could certainly use the SixScore.com for myself. But we're going to get the man himself, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, to help us one final time get set for the Super Bowl. Doc, some quick hitters. Let's start with the news that Jerick McKinnon activated for this game. Did that surprise you and the guys over at SixScore.com?
Can't hear.
Yeah.
Sorry, the volume. I can't hear what you're saying there.
Doc,
I left
good.
Vegas. I'm back at home before my son's baseball practice here. I don't hear the sound, unfortunately.
Well, I do appreciate the breakdown,
That's
though.
okay.
Nevertheless, if we get Doc sorted, we will kick it to him. But I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I think he said, was that a Suns baseball game?
Yes.
Not bad.
All year round.
Oh,
I like that.
Well, he
Pitchers
gave
and catchers?
He gave us some good intel while we were out there. So, definitely McKinnon and
I mean, I'll tell
some
you
of
what,
these players.
the timing is pretty good. The inactives have come out. Justin Ross, Kadarius Toney, shame for you.
Justin Ross.
Stop.
Come on.
Stop. That was not on your card. Come on
No,
now.
Justin Ross. I mean, come on.
Does that worth at least
Played
a half
at
point?
Clemson. I mean, come on. If Justin Ross is going to step up in this game, come on.
Was that the guy with the neck injury, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, Clemson? Okay. All right.
Kadarius Toney, LaMichael Pirine, and then a couple of defensive players will be out for KC. Tough scene. Brandon Allen, Matt Pryor, Ronnie Bell. Again, it's not a superstar list for you on the Niners side of it there, but what the big takeaway, I guess, is what we already knew, is we are going to get Jerick McKinnon in this game.
McKinnon is a guy that if active, and I brought it up earlier, why did you activate him if you don't plan to utilize him in any capacity in this matchup? He's a special teams type of player, but in terms of the rushing attack, he can spell Isaiah Pacheco if that's the game plan to give him 24, 25 carries in this matchup. He's going to have to come out at periods of time, so that can lead to carries for McKinnon. But I like McKinnon in regards to the screen game. You brought up his number 5.5. That's one reception. He's had multiple opportunities throughout the regular season to catch passes, take it to the house, He's a player that has versatility, Donnie.
Yeah.
So when you look at his number at 5.5 is not 50 yards. It's one catch and get a first down.
By the way, let me ask you this question, though, because I know, like, we've looked at secondary options throughout the season. Those secondary options like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The issue about that here is who's actually going to get those carries and those pass receptions, Joe, in the fourth quarter?
It was just...
We have a great time here on the set, let me tell you. Come on. The people love this.
It's
Come
unbelievable.
On.
He's making me laugh.
Come on.
The whole situation. All right. All right.
Jerick McKinnon. Who gets those fourth quarter carries, Joe?
I think it is Pacheco, and it is McKinnon in regards to that matchup. I mean, it's just incredible in regards to everything. I believe McKinnon does get the carries, maybe in third down type of situations in regards to screen passes. You okay?
Come on, man. I can't.
Are you okay?
Oh, my goodness, man.
Are you okay? The laughs that we have on Pro Football Today are like no other show. The camaraderie and just the friendship that go along are what make this team
the inactive reports come out and all heck breaks loose here on the set at this point. We're trying to figure out if Jerick McKinnon is going to be that fourth quarter leading back here. It's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because if you can't run the football in the fourth quarter, somebody's going to have to be that pass catcher. Can it be McKinnon?
I think it can be McKinnon. Again, you talk about security blankets for Pat Mahomes in regards to the short to intermediate passing attack. If it's not going to be Rashee Rice or Travis Kelce, it's going to be checkdowns to Jerick McKinnon in the receiving game. That's an area where I think he has value. Again, not every book is hanging a 5.5 number on Jerick McKinnon in terms of the receiving game, but if I had to take it, I wouldn't look rushes. If we're talking rushing yards and receiving, I would look receiving in regards to that.
I will say it is a long breakdown on Jerick McKinnon. So, Doc, if we could get your insight, we would appreciate it on him being active for this game.
Yeah, is it official yet? I know. Look, it's 90 minutes before kickoff. The broadcast time is 3:30. It's not the kickoff time. I've been waiting for it, but
it's official.
It hasn't been. It is now official. Okay. Here's the thing: it's a very quick return from core muscle surgery. So obviously they have him active to try and do something, but I'm not sure how effective he can be. Right. And I haven't seen any video of his burst or anything like that. It's a core muscle groin injury for a speed, quickness, and cutting guy. So we'll see. We'll see how effective that he can be.
Doc, his numbers are so low, and I know you always say we're the handicappers. You handle the injury analysis, but you guys all year have done a great job being able to use that injury analysis to kind of help you help everyone else, right, make these bets. But his number is so low at 5.5. I mean, how many snaps could we reasonably expect him to play in this game?
Yeah, I don't know what the coaching utilization is going to be, right? I mean, it's all I can tell you. It's very quick for core muscle surgery. Certainly, maybe there's some decoy stuff where they have to be careful with him because he is such a special player when healthy. But that is the big unknown. I just would be surprised if he were anywhere close to 100% is all.
Doc, let me ask you overall. I see the grade here, 91.5 for San Fran, 87.1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Is that enough of a gap to be considered notable by the group over there at SixScore.com?
No, if this was a week with 16 games, this would be one where it's just a small injury advantage. It wouldn't be one of the ones where we've been 59% on the year, right? It would be a no play, but it is a Super Bowl, so, everyone wants to do something. The Niners have the slight health advantage over the Chiefs, but healthier teams prevail, right? That's why these teams are in the Super Bowl. The unhealthy playoff teams, the Dolphins, the Eagles, etc., lost early, and even the Bills, right? So this is why, as is typical, Super Bowl teams are on the healthier side.
Doc, the one thing for the Niners that might be a concern, or maybe not, would be George Kittle missed some practice time this week. What do you guys feel about George Kittle heading into the game?
Well, we always talk about sometimes what we don't see is as important as what we do see, and we don't see a significant injury on Kittle's toe. Don't see it as a turf toe or anything significant. So I think it's going to be full utilization for Kittle.
And then last one, Doc, but again, we kind of knew this was trending this way. Chooney's not going to be playing in this game. How much does that downgrade the offense overall for you guys on the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, it does a little bit. Thankfully, his backup's pretty good, Allegretti, but he's better at the run than the pass. So, and the defensive line for the 49ers is now healthy, right? From Armstead to Hargrave to Kinlaw, et cetera. And that's the big change from when we saw Baltimore beat them on Christmas Day. They were not healthy in the defensive line. Now they are. Obviously, they haven't played that well in the playoffs, but they are healthy.
Yeah. Look, Doc, again, we appreciate it there. It's largely a clean Super Bowl, and as you've told us, that's a big part of the reason why these teams are here. The Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow. Doc, we appreciate it.
Yep, we'll do some in-game analysis, and great to see you guys in Vegas. I just got home myself. First Super Bowl in 10 years from home, which is actually a joy.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Enjoy it, Doc. Enjoy it, and we look forward. Well, in a way, I guess you as well. Hope you don't have to give us any in-game updates, but you probably will, and we'll be on the lookout for them. Again, Doc, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, great stuff there from the Pro Football Doc. I'll just say this. I know we just did spend a lot of time on McKinnon, but he is the big injury concern, so I get it. 6.5, it's a very good number in that I don't know how I bet under because it is probably one catch. If you told me you got 3 snaps, no targets, I'm sorry. That's not surprising, though, at all.
No, it's not, but it's worth the risk. I mean, we're not talking 15.5, 16.
But that's why to make it worth the risk, and I know I'm not being
like Mark Andrews coming back.
I'd much rather get 20-plus receiving yards at 4-1 and make it a little bit more worth it. Adam Kaplan is next here on SportsGrid.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing 1 touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with 1 touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, 7th in assists, and 8th in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the 2 biggest games of the 2 Super Bowls, one as a coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Pro Football Today. I'm Kevin Walsh. That is Joe Lisi and Donnie Rightside. We are with you until kickoff, where Gabriel Morency, Scott Farrell, and Joe Ranieri will take over for our coverage of San Francisco and Kansas City, Niners Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. But to help us continue to break this down is NFL insider Adam Kaplan. And Cap, I want to start with this. You got to just mention to us before we got going. You've talked to a lot of people around the league, and you're hearing a lot of Kansas City. Now, I've just been observing from the outside, but even some of the people we talked to on Radio Row, players, you just constantly hear, can't pick against Mahomes. What kind of have you been hearing from people around the league heading into this game?
Yeah, Kevin, that's part of it. But what you heard about Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, going for his fourth ring, you hear that. Andy Reid, obviously, a Hall of Fame coach who's probably top 3 head coach in NFL history. It's kind of like that's where the people I've talked to, and mostly coaches, by the way, a couple executives, but mostly coaches this past week, it's more about that. Now, when we talk about when we were in Las Vegas, obviously, for Radio Row, yes, a lot of former players who didn't play for either team like the Chiefs to win the game. Now, they don't talk spread. They just talk about who do you think is going to win the game. Well, guess what? Chiefs are still getting 2 points. So, yeah, it's just a ton of respect. Now, the other thing is, most people would agree that we've talked to that the Niners have the better roster. That's the interesting thing. That's probably, in fact, I know that's a big reason why the Niners are a 2-point favorite. Again, depending which book you're looking at, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5, mostly 1.5, 2 or 2 right now. But that's where it all comes in. It's the respect for the coaches. It's Mahomes. It's Reid. It's the history. The defense coordinator Spagnuolo, who's just terrific, who's amazing. You're going to see a lot of pre and post snap disguise. This is what Spags does, and how great of a story he's been as their defensive play caller. And then can Brock Purdy overcome his lack of experience? The experience counts, folks, at this point of the NFL season. There's no question about it.
Adam, we take a look at what's going on there out in Las Vegas, and I wanted to bring this up. Last week when the 49ers got to town out there, they had an issue with the practice field where they had the turf field and they rolled the grass in, which is the sod, over that. The reason I bring this up is last year there were a lot of question marks after the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Similar type surface that's rolled from outside of the arena into the arena. Have you heard any rumblings, or did the NFL get that right this year? We shouldn't have any issues with that field today.
All right, Donnie, I know why you're bringing this up, because you're an Eagles fan. And guess what?
That's
Talking
right.
to the Eagles after that game, I know they didn't want to talk about it publicly. The players, front office people were super upset at the field that was there, and I think it was in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. It was slick. Players were dropped. They were slipping. It hurt the Eagles' pass rush. Now, fast forwarding it to now, no, I've not heard anything that's untoward. Remember, the Niners felt that it would be ready by Wednesday if it would be better. But the other thing is here, and typically what you do is when it's not your home field, and obviously this is not. This is in Las Vegas Legion Field. And yes, they bring a new side in. You have to have the right type of cleats, and this is the thing. Like, the Eagles did not understand how bad that turf would be and how much they would slip. That impacted their ability to get to Patrick Mahomes. So this is something, Donnie, I'm glad you brought this up. Let's watch early on the first couple series. If you see any slipping, this is totally on the league. I'm not interested in hearing any excuses. The league has got to get this right. How in the world could this happen in the Super Bowl as it did last year? I don't take sides. I'm not a fan. I call it like I see it. This should never happen. We should never have any issues with the field. That's embarrassing for the league, and it can't happen. And the spectacle, the biggest of professional sports, the biggest rating we're ever going to have in sports history is the Super Bowl. 115 million at least. We got to have everything right, and that's got to be in the league to get the field right.
Cap, I've heard some rumblings throughout the week last week that Shanahan was concerned about how dominant this Kansas City defense was, and that was based off the first press conference that they had when they came back to Las Vegas. What have you heard, and do you feel that Kansas City has the type of offense to play from behind should San Francisco, let's just say, jump up early and have a double-digit lead in the first half?
Yeah, they can. The Chiefs, Joe, certainly they can do that. Now, what you worry about as we turn our transition here to the game, the issue for the Chiefs is the lack of a deep pass target group. That is absolutely an issue. Where on the other side, and a big reason why a lot of people like at least the Niners' personnel on offense is because they're way deeper. Particularly at the wide receiver position. Then you throw in McCaffrey, who's a dual threat, which, by the way, they didn't have last year in Week 7. Things change, as you know, after the trade deadline, but so they didn't have to face that last year. But getting back to the Chiefs, The one guy that I think could be a factor, and he's not going to get the ball a lot, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling on deep shots. He is their shot play guy. So is Justin Watson, number 84 out of the University of Pennsylvania, runs really well. But MVS, the big thing that he does is get downfield. And I could tell you from talking to teams that play the Niners, what you do is you throw at the corner opposite Shavarius Ward, by the way, is a former Chief, number 7. That's going to be Diamador Lenore. That's who everybody wants to go after. They can't always do it. And the report that I had at the trade deadline was that they called a lot of teams, and one of them was the Raiders for Nate Hobbs. They were told he was not available. They called the Bears for Jalen Johnson. The Bears wanted too much. So that tells you guys that the Niners are acknowledging that they need help at the quarterback position. Now, if the Chiefs can protect, remember now, Joe Thuney will not play with a pectoral strain. Their outstanding guard, probably their best offensive lineman. That's going to be an issue now for the interior. The Niners can bring in. I know their pass rush has not been as good, Joe, but if they can protect, they're going to go after Lenore and also Ambry Thomas when he's in there.
All right, Cap, let's move out of the Super Bowl quickly.
Yep.
This week I got the chance to talk to Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, and I asked Stephon, I said, hey, Mike Zimmer, the DC of Dallas, and he goes, yeah, that's, what people think could happen, and I was like, I thought it was confirmed. And then this morning, I don't know if you saw this on NFL Countdown, Adam Schefter reports Mike Zimmer is the DC in Dallas. Rex Ryan, who interviews for the job on set, goes, nope. I don't know what the heck's going on here, Cap. Do you? Any idea what's going on with Dallas and their DC situation?
Barring something unforeseen, it should be Coach Zimmer. I know he's got ties to Dion at Colorado. But, yeah, that was my expectation heading into Saturday because, as a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I looked at the names that I was given. The only one that I thought had a real shot was Wink Martindale because I'm told privately that Jerry Jones is very high on Wink Martindale. As we know, he went to Michigan. So to replace Jesse Minter. So that would surprise me if Coach Zimmer would not be with the Cowboys this season. Obviously, he knows them. And this late, by the way, Kevin, this is really late for anything to change. This is a lot of good coaches are gone. They don't have a lot of choices. This would surprise me if it doesn't happen. I would say at the very least.
Adam, let's take a look back on the Philadelphia Eagles here. You take a look at their offseason, already tumultuous here, worried about what Jalen Hurts is going to do. Does he have to be more of a leader? Vic Fangio comes in now as their defensive coordinator, which I think most people say is a great move. The interesting part is you're supposed to love your pass rushers here. Hassan Reddick looks like he's given the okay to go out and search that trade market here. What are you hearing from Philadelphia, Adam, on this?
Yeah, it's true, Donnie. I think NFL Network put that out this morning. So here's my understanding. At the Senior Bowl is where I first heard about this. If they didn't like what they heard from the Eagles, they were going to ask for a trade. They've done that. That's him. That's Reddick and his agent. By the way, he's changed agents and agencies over the last couple of years. Donnie, here's the problem. 3 years, $45 million, $50 million a year. You go, that's a lot of money. Well, here's the problem. Joey Bosa, okay, and Nick Bosa, the Bosa brothers, are making much more. Nick Bosa, $34 million per season. No knock on Nick Bosa. Is he $19 million a year worth more per season worth it? No, he's not. So to me, this deal should be between $25 and $27 million. That's what he should get on a restructured extension. The Eagles don't feel motivated to do that. This is not a secret. He let the media know. After 1 year, he wanted more money because he had an unbelievable season in year one. Now, he did drop off this past season. Johnny, as an Eagles fan, that their defense dropped off, that they re-signed Sean Desai, their defense coordinator, who's no longer there. You mentioned Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio needs pass rushers. Now, if the Eagles are willing to trade him, obviously when you let a guy seek permission and get and talk, his agent could talk to other teams. If they like something that motivates them to trade, it would be Nolan Smith who would replace him. Donnie, Nolan Smith had 1.5 sacks last season. He was a backup. He was a special teams player. This is a big jump for him to be a full-time starter, to think they're going to get that production. And by the way, Josh Sweat, number 94, is a terrific player. He dropped off last season, particularly in the second half. So they need Hassan Reddick, who's by far the best pass rusher. This is not a done deal. People overreact to these things. No, I would tell you, covering this business 24 years, more often than not, when a guy's given permission to seek a trade and to be able to get a trade and bring back information to the club, more often than not, these guys are traded. But it's not a done deal. The Eagles know they're in a tough way here. See, you also, Donnie, do not want a player that's not happy on your roster. He's under contract. There's no guaranteed money. They don't have any vesting date. They can wait on this. The Eagles are a team that's usually proactive. I don't know if they're willing to let this go the entire offseason. But if you're Hassan Reddick, you can't play on this contract. He needs a new deal, and the Eagles have a big decision to make what they're going to do to handle this situation.
Cap, we'll keep it in Philly, and we'll tie it back into the Super Bowl. So Jason Kelce still hasn't decided whether he's going to retire or not. He's met with TV execs. Do you think he's potentially waiting to see how this game plays out with Kansas City? If his brother does win a Super Bowl, maybe they retire together?
No. My understanding is that he was not going to announce anything this week to take away from his brother Travis. And yes, he actually is talking to a performance coach, as I understand it. He's talked to the TV people. Actually, his agent is doing that. It's actually a contract agent, as I understand it. So this is what you do. He'll be unbelievable in television. It's what one person close to Kelce said, though everyone's saying he's going to retire, which he told his teammates. He could wake up in a week and say, you know what? I got one more year left in me. You never say never. People close to the situation thought he was going to retire 3 years ago, and he didn't. So never say never. The chances are probably, in fact, I know this, the chances are high that he's going to retire. But you never know because he feels pretty good. But if you're Jason Kelce, you got to understand how close is this team getting back to the Super Bowl. That is a big decision if he comes back or not.
I'm sure it is. Unfortunately, we ran out of time to ask you, Cap, if you think Travis will propose to Taylor at the end of the game. I guess the mystery awaits.
Wow.
Appreciate it. Cap will be back. More pro
What are the
football
odds?
today.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks pulling one touchdown pass, right? He can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on him.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, seventh in assists, and eighth in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as the coordinator, one as the head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's make it happen with you here on Pro Football Today. A lot for us to break down. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. Donnie mentioned something key in the break that someone mentioned to me earlier in the week, and I kept forgetting to kind of talk about. The location of this game is very favorable to the Bay Area. Vegas, obviously, significantly closer. We were out there all week, and it depends kind of what lenses you had on, maybe which jerseys you were seeing and how often you were seeing them, but towards the end of the week, it felt far more Niners out there. Donnie, some reports around the stadium heading the game?
Yeah, and you usually know this right off the bat. Like, the fans are going to get into the arena, and you're going to know one way or another who actually has the side. Now, granted, in the Super Bowl atmosphere, it's a lot of a corporate, atmosphere all the way through, but there is usually a decided fan base here. It looks like it's the 49ers. And how do you tell that early? When Patrick Mahomes comes out. If you're a Kansas City fan, you're standing up, you're giving an ovation. But if you are the 49er fan, you are booing. And it sounds like the loudest cheers/boos are coming from the 49er side, which is going to be interesting to let that play out. And, Joe, I know you saw it as well as we do. Walking up and down the strip there all week long, it was nonstop. Now, granted, there's red on both sides, but it was 49er jersey after 49er jersey after 49er jersey.
Yeah, I left late yesterday around 3 p.m. Pacific time, and all the Niner fans were coming in. And I'll just say this in regards to field advantage. We know that Kansas City has played there, playing in the AFC West. San Fran played there at the end of the regular season last year. Remember? That was the Jarrett Stidham game. So they are familiar somewhat with the environment in Allegiant Stadium as well. So just keeping an eye out for that as well as this game plays out.
Yeah, look, again, this is going to be a really, really interesting game. And there's a lot of atmosphere, right? Taylor Swift is a big part of this game and her arrival. And look, shout out, Taylor. I think she's going to be great mojo for this football game tonight. I really do. And that's all there. But there's also the X's and O's of this. And I actually got to have a really fun conversation out in Vegas with Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, both of the Dallas Cowboys. And we kind of just, listen, I'll be honest, I started maybe saying a couple things. And they were like, I don't know if this kid knows what he's talking about. And I was like, tell me then. Tell me what you guys see going into this matchup. And that is all a part of my conversation out on Radio Row with Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks of the Dallas Cowboys.
SportsGrid live in Las Vegas with a pair of Dallas Cowboys. We've got Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. Appreciate you guys stopping by. I want to start with why you're out here, which is He Gets Us. And Brandon, I'll ask you, tell us what that is about and what message you guys are delivering.
Yeah, the message is obviously, He Gets Us. It's really talking about Jesus, how he loves everyone. Encouraging you to love your neighbor, love, spreading love, kindness, generosity. And what is your neighbor? It's not people that look like you, right, or talk like you. It's people that don't look like you, that may not talk like you, different walks of life, but still having the ability to love them and love each other no matter what's going on.
And then, Stephon, you guys are out here doing something very specific, great stuff during this weekend in Vegas?
Yeah, we just doing, we did something today for He Gets Us, just spreading the love.
Yeah.
Like he said, let's building our foundation on faith and just showing love to one another. And just today, right now, we're doing a lot of interviews, just, talking ball, so it's been fun.
I have noticed, obviously just watching, but it does seem very nice that at the end of the game sometimes whoever kind of shares the same faith will come together no matter the team. And is that something that I guess keeps guys kind of bonded throughout the league, Brandon?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's also give you the ability to, share your faith and give God glory no matter the circumstances. Obviously, during the game, win, lose, or draw, you like to be there in the middle because it kind of shows you the people that are kind of walking that same walk of life with you for sure.
Yeah. Stephon, I want to ask you about playing for Dan Quinn. He makes the move to Washington. For you, what was it like playing under Quinn in Dallas?
He was a great coach. He found a way to gel with the players and be hard on them.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised how, the last 3 or 4 years, Dallas defense been playing at an elite level. But he had a great opportunity to go to Washington and be a head coach again. And I'm happy for him. So it was a great year, just to be coached up under him.
For you, heading into free agency, is that something that factors in? Mike Zimmer's now going to be the DC in Dallas, or are we a little far out from figuring that all out?
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's official yet, but that's what I heard. But Zim is a great coach, old school guy. All his defenses played great, when he coached them. So that wouldn't be a bad thing to have him as a coach.
Yeah. Brandon, getting to play with Dak It's an interesting look. Dak's getting judged on a different standard. He was in the MVP race all season long, but the back end of it didn't end in the result that you guys wanted. A couple of pick sixes in the first half against Green Bay. But what was it like for you playing alongside Dak this season?
I mean, it was great. I love Dak. Like I told him, man, he became like a brother in only in a short time. I got a lot of respect for the way that he handled himself. Obviously, he gets judged because we got that star on our helmet. But at the end of the day, the way that he's playing is at the highest level. He can't do it by himself. You know what I mean? He needs his guys around him to step up, whether that be O-line, receivers, running backs. It takes everyone to kind of help him, especially in the playoffs. At the end of the day, you need everybody on board doing their thing. So.
I'm curious if I can just bring up the game against Green Bay where – a team is on a heater like they were because Jordan Love in that game was just kind of clicking on all cylinders. Is there a moment where you're like, I don't know how we're going to be able to stop this guy today? Because that's the thing about football. In a 7-game series like basketball, right, or hockey, the better team typically can win out. And you guys had an incredible season, but in that one game, they came out so on fire, Stefan, and put you guys behind the 8 ball early.
I just think at the end of the day, they played more physical than we did. It was able to establish the run early. And, once you do that, the defense got to play perfect. So we couldn't stop the run. It set up the play-action pass and things like that. So, that's what it really comes down. I think the most physical team is going to win the game, and they was that day.
Yeah. You both have Super Bowl experience. I'll ask you, Brandon, going into the game on Sunday, is there something about that matchup between the Chiefs and the Niners that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, obviously, you talk about the rematch. This time around, like Kansas City defense, I want to say was top 5 in the league this year. So they playing at a high level, right? And the weapons that the 49ers have. But one thing that you can just never underestimate is Patrick Mahomes. Like, did I think Baltimore was going to win that? I did.
So
but
did
the way Mahomes is Mahomes, and when you got that it factor, I feel like you can never go against that. So I'm looking forward to the matchup because Kyle Shanahan, great coach, Mahomes, and that defense going against those weapons in San Francisco. I look forward to it.
Yeah. So I'll ask you just, Stefan, about the matchup between Kelsey and then Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, right? That's one that a lot of people are kind of keying on. How do Fred and Greenlaw, and I guess the Niners defense
Tell them what
as
you
a
would do,
whole,
Steph.
try and lock him in?
Tell them what you would do.
What I do?
Yeah, dude, please.
Just put me on them. It'll be
Yes,
happening.
sir. Yes, sir.
It's going to be a great matchup. They got an elite defense. Travis Kelce's an elite tight end, but I think it ain't going to be one guy to stop him because they play a certain scheme. They play mostly cover 3 zone. So it's going to be a whole team. They got to get to the quarterback. And it's not going to be one person to stop Travis Kelce. It's going to have to be the whole defense.
But is there something to that? Because I remember when Gronk was, he had a great career, obviously, but the Jags were throwing Jalen Ramsey on him, and that was working. So this is why I like
Wait, when that happened?
No,
AFC Championship?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I know how it worked.
I don't remember that one.
But, it worked out great for you guys. I understand that, but look, Ramsey's a great player. But
I'm just saying they don't really match up scheme-wise. They don't really put a corner on a tight end. That's not what they do. They play cover 3. They play man. Like, it's not going to be one person that stopped them. They haven't done it all year unless something changed.
When you get to the Super Bowl, though, can you make a change like that? Or you're breaking tendency too much?
You can, but it's been working all year.
Got scars from that.
Yeah.
What are you referring to?
When we played the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All year they was running man on film. We get to the Super Bowl, they switched it all up. Played that 6-1 defense and ran zone, but never really showed that. Didn't show it at all during the season.
Yeah.
So you can to answer your question, depends who your coach is. You can switch it up if you got the confidence.
Yeah. But that's what's super interesting though about these two coaches for me, because Andy now has all the Super Bowls to back it up. I think everybody, you alluded to it, Kyle Shanahan's an incredible play caller, but until you win a Super Bowl, and even sometimes winning one isn't enough. You guys know that playing for Mike McCarthy. Until Kyle Shanahan wins a Super Bowl, people are going to always doubt just how great he is, right?
Yeah, I think for sure. That's what it comes down to. You got to win the big one. But he's a great coach regardless. But I think they got the team this year to do it. They have talent everywhere on their team. So Brock Purdy's playing well.
Yeah.
So they got opportunity, but it's just you got one of the greatest players to ever play the game in Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
You can't bet against, so it's going to be a good game.
Well, we'll find out. Again, with He Gets Us, that's Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. The most I've learned all week, I think, going into this game. I appreciate it.
I love it, man.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Again, a great conversation with those guys around this game. And what I really loved about it, Joe, is not that it needed to be, but it did kind of validate what you talk about on this show every single week, where you go through recent Super Bowl history, right? And you talk about stunning things, right? There could be stunning results. But that Pats-Rams game, I mean, the Rams offense was largely unstoppable all year long. And Bill's like, well, what if I just change everything I do? And it worked, right?
Right.
And that's drastic. But when you talk about attacking teams in ways that they are not 100% expecting, that's why, and not that we know McCaffrey can catch the football, but instead of 6 targets, let's just get this guy 12 targets in the game. Nobody is prepared to stop CMC with that type of receiving workload.
Right. Well, that's what separates good coaches from elite coaches. And Andy Reid has done it better than anybody up until this point. And Shanahan has struggled in critical halftime type of situations and big matchups in terms of making halftime adjustments. What I do find crazy is that we're not talking about going from like a 3-4 to all of a sudden like a 3-4, 4 or something like crazy like that. Well, my point is, or 2-5, 3 or something like that. We're talking about defensive schemes or offensive schemes that have already been implemented, but it's a comfort zone in terms of the play calls. They're not going, from man to man to zone. All right, they play that how many times throughout the regular season, Donnie? So for me, that's what I find mind-boggling is that these coaches just want to go with what they've done all season long because they're afraid to change. When in this type of situation, you have to believe that the opposition is game planning for everything that you do throughout the regular season.
What Joe's saying as well is you need wrinkles on your offense. You need wrinkles on your defense. Like if you're going to show a set where the corner or the safety is going to blitz and say, I got that on tap. 54 is the mic. I know he's blitzing. That's going to be an easy pass. And say, whoa, he actually didn't blitz. He actually backed off in coverage. And also, you're talking about two of the best game planners in football, and Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid. There should be a lot of fun twists, which is why when we start to talk about the props market here, and we've done that all week long, those secondary options, are we going to be surprised if Sky Moore gets a touchdown tonight? No, because we've seen it in the past.
We have. But again, why I continue to land where I land is none of that creativity seems to exist for the Chiefs when they're behind the 8 ball or even when they're in front of it in the second half.
Because they haven't had to do it up until this point.
I don't think that's...
See, the Bills had them on the ropes, but the Bills were up 3 at the half and never really went up. And that was the difference, I think.
Postseason-wise, I get what you're saying, but also, again, Andy Reid would be out of his mind if he told you he was happy with what the offense did in the second half. There's no way. I think it's just the result of how these things go. We're going to get you some Super Bowl best bets and continue to track the line movement for this game between the Niners and the Chiefs.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing one touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, seventh in assists, and eighth in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as a coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, it's best bet time here on Pro Football Today, just in case I'll slide in. We got to make sure that we're here and where you need us. We're going to have a little bit more time to break this game down.
Yep.
Get you the full card. We're loaded with wagers. Let's identify the absolute best bet. Joe, you're up first.
Yes, and we start with a total. The total opened up at 47.5. Didn't move all week. We're down to 46.5. Pound it. Alt over. Points. All Brock Purdy and San Francisco. They have the type of playmakers to challenge that defense. I think they're frauds. We'll see how it plays out.
I like it. Let's get some points here.
Brock, on the graphic. Great mojo.
Look at the mojo. MVP.
Oh, Lisi's in. Come on,
feel
Don,
it.
what do you got?
I got that James Dean daydream look in my eye because it's all about style, and that style's over. 23.5 in the first half. No doubt in my mind these two teams' scripted plays will be tremendous, people. Over 23.5 in the first half. That's your best bet.
I like it. With Pacheco? Do you like the player choice, Donnie?
Yeah, because we're all scoring. Look, we're not going to discriminate against scoring touchdowns. You want to get in Pacheco 3 to 4 times? Do it. Go ahead.
I like the move. Now, once again, the most unbiased man in the history of sports media has done it. Mr. Niners. All Niners. Bets were coming in. What's Kevin's best bet's going to be? Purdy over 1.5. Purdy rushing. Purdy passing. Purdy MVP. The Chief. It's Travis Kelce.
Wow.
Over 34.5 first half receiving yards. Me and the Swifties are ready to meet at the window. He's averaging over 70 yards per game receiving in the playoffs so far. He averaged over 42 yards per game in the regular season on this prop. This is a swing and a miss by the odds makers, and is a swing and a grand slam for myself and the Swifties. I love it, fellas.
I like it if he gets it 38, 39 yards in the first half, and they shut him down in the second.
Yep, get 60 to 70 yards in that first half. Score, people, score off the bat.
Party over.
A lot of points, people.
Big party.
We're going to continue to break these games down, and before you know it, the big crew will be here. Scott Farrell, Gabriel Morency, and Joe Ranieri as SportsGrid has you covered for Super Bowl 58, the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be right back. Back on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, Joe Lisi. Time to break down some betting cards. Before that, DRS, get us up to date here. Line movement, we talked about it. When this show started, we had 1.5, 2, and 2.5, all available in the market from the side perspective. From the total, we had 46.5, 47, and 47.5. What do we have now, Donnie?
Same exact thing. We haven't had much movement over the past half hour, which is interesting to me because that's when you get that late flood of bets. But also, Kevin, as you pointed out multiple times during the show, depending on where you're shopping at, you can get disparities, which in the Super Bowl usually doesn't happen where you have one full point on each side. They're usually lined up, Joe, each and every way.
Yeah, it's incredible that, we've had a point fluctuation on the total, point fluctuation in regards to actually 2 points, right? From 2.5 to 1.5, now back up to 2.5 for San Francisco, respectively. I think we're going to sit flat right here. I don't think we're going to move. I think we'll see more in-game type of fluctuation once they kick off in about a half an hour. That's where you can pick off some value as well, especially if the first drive, let's say, ends in a punt.
Oh.
Right. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying maybe we get that total down to like 42.5, 41. If that happens, that's even a double up type of situation for me. So
only person I know that hopes their best bet starts poorly to get in more on a better number.
No, well, here's it. I hope it doesn't start poorly.
Like Dream first quarter score, Donnie, for him is 3-0.
How about 14-14?
Yep. I would like that.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if I would like that, actually.
I actually just,
28-0.
Now the juices are starting to flow. We're starting to get more into an in-game type of spirit.
Yeah.
Pound them. How about 21-0 San Fran first quarter?
See,
how about
we're
that?
Come back
That's
home.
it. I'm coming back.
Come back home. You know where
how
you
about
belong.
that? Brock Purdy, 180 yards passing in the first quarter.
No rushing
MVP?
yards in the first quarter. That's what we want
That's
to say.
it.
No, you said no.
No rushing yards at all in the
McCaffrey,
first quarter.
60-yard reception. We're starting to show our hand.
This
How about that?
Hold on. Radio audience is here. We'd love to have you at SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM Channel 159. I know you both pretty well when it comes to this stuff, right? And I know that you let the week come to you. And you started this week, Donnie, talking about running backs.
Yes.
And you just said you don't want to see anyone run the ball in the first quarter.
Yes.
I like to see where you land on this game, but Lisi, you're up first. Give us your picks for Super Bowl 58.
Well, I'm on San Francisco, altered it up to 6.5. I'm on the total, 46.5, obviously, respectively. Altered it up to 52 and as high as 56.5, respectively. I'm on McCaffrey receiving, but my big bets here in terms of the betting card, Deebo Samuel rushing over the 15.5, 16.5. Altered it at 8-1 to 50+. Why? Because I said it before. Every time Deebo Samuel gets over his rushing total, they're 5-0 and have won those ball games by an average margin of victory of 22 points per game. I think that the middle to intermediate routes are going to be open. That means George Kittle, 49.5 receiving, altered him up to 100+, along with McCaffrey. Anytime touchdown, George Kittle, to me, has value. Plus 190, especially in terms of red zone opportunities. And, Kev, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Brock Purdy, I think, breaks out for a big game. I know that this secondary has been good, only giving up $181 through the air, but honestly, this is the best offense I think they've played in the playoffs. I know you could talk Miami and Buffalo respectively, but again, they were limping in. Buffalo had more of a run-heavy offense with Josh Allen towards the end of the year. Stephon Diggs was non-existent, and Miami had a real problem. Offense and defensive lines, they were banged up, and Baltimore, one-trick pony outside of Lamar Jackson. So I think Purdy breaks out with a 300-yard performance, and he might just take home the hardware for Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I need him to get 2 touchdown passes, so along that way is going to help. But I'm looking for quick starts out of these two ball clubs early on in the gates. If we're ending at the first quarter 3-3, this is going to be a long game because Kansas City is like, this is exactly where I wanted it. So I think all of us are looking for that quick jump start for the 49ers because we know Patrick Mahomes has it in him. We're not going to say, well, they only scored 17 points against the Baltimore Ravens. They only needed to score 17 points against the Ravens. It'll be interesting to see if the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs need to score 31 points. Can they get there, Kevin?
Look, it's a fair question, DRS. I think this game, as we get closer, though, right? As we get closer, are we comfortable fading Pat? The answer is yes. Not worried at all. DRS, tell me what you got picks-wise.
All right, picks-wise here, the 49ers minus 1.5, going to lead off with that because if I think talking up the 49ers all week long, you got to put your money where your mouth is here. I do think the Niners win. I'll take them at the 1.5 here. Also, straight wager, Christian McCaffrey. Oh, it's too high here. Again, if you ask me one play that you feel is going to cross the goal line, regardless of juice and spread, it's going to be McCaffrey anytime touchdown market. It would be wild to me if he doesn't score. And then you take a look at Isaiah Pacheco under 6 68.5 rushing yards in this game. If I do think the game plan plays out where the 49ers win, we're not going to get Pacheco picking up 7 to 8 extra carries in the fourth quarter running this clock out. So those are the three I have. But also, if we're lining up some other bets here just to have fun with here, a lot of great boost across many of these legal sports books. One I have here, San Francisco money line paired up with a Christian McCaffrey touchdown, boosted up to plus 225. I did take that also. But how about one of the old stalemates here, Kevin, that we've loved from time and time again? Each team to score one rushing touchdown and one passing touchdown in the football game. That's a plus 270 price here. Also, Brock Purdy to have 2 touchdown passes parlayed with the 49ers to win the game. That's plus 200 as well. A lot of different options to have fun with, but I think if we started it here, guys, the 49ers to me are the better football team. If the Kansas City Chiefs win, am I going to be blown away? Absolutely not. So what we're getting at is here, trust what you've seen before. If you thought that the Chiefs weren't as good as the Buffalo Bills and you didn't take that game, okay. Same thing with the Baltimore Ravens. But again, if you do it a third time in a row, sometimes you have to stick with your tendencies here. I just think the 49ers are better. How can I sit back and say to myself as a handicapper, well, Patrick Mahomes on the other side, that's my handicap. You can't do that. The Niners are better. I just need Brock Purdy to be average to above average. They'll win this game.
And I'll just say to Donnie's point in regards to, we talk about like getting to 31 in regards to that number. Let's say the 49ers have been through that number multiple times. Yeah. The only time, 3 times on the Chiefs' schedule have they been over 30 this year. So that's a cause of concern as we enter the playoffs. They've gotten to the high 20s, and they've been able to dictate the tempo, Kev. Something, I'm telling you, if San Francisco starts fast, could be a problem.
Absolutely could. Look, I'm going to give you some, not all. Give you the rest on the other side. We've got, 12, 13 loaded in here right now. Niners money line, is a starting point at minus 120. It's not just about them being the better team. It's about the caliber of football being played in. It goes against conventional wisdom. You hear me all the time talk about bounce-back spots on player props. I think it's true at teams as well. The Chiefs, by DVOA, have played their 2 best games of the year in 2 consecutive matchups, one against Buffalo and one against Baltimore. They'll need to do it again to beat the San Francisco 49ers, and I think that is too tall of a task. But on the other end of it, the Niners have not played their best ball. Slow starts specifically against Green Bay and Detroit. That does not happen here. I expect the Niners to get up early and to never look back in this football game. Give me their money line at minus 120. I mentioned Travis Kelce's over 34.5 first half receiving yards. Those are my 2 favorite absolute wagers in this football game here. Niners money line and Kelce over 34.5 first half receiving yards, averaging over 70 yards per game in the postseason so far. Give me Pat Mahomes, 25-plus rushing yards. He's missed this in 2 straight. Has not missed this in 3 straight games at all during this season or his postseason career. He's never missed this prop in his Super Bowl career. And I'll also lay 13.5 rushing yards against Brock Purdy with Pat Mahomes. This Purdy number is the highest it has been in his entire NFL career. I'm going to fade a big game runner and have Patrick Mahomes get potentially 40 yards. It's going to be tough for Purdy to keep up. I'll get you the rest of my picks, and we'll bring in the big game crew next, right here on SportsGrid.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks going one touchdown pass, right? He can't win MVP with one touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on him.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, seventh in assists, and eighth in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the two biggest games of the two Super Bowls, one as a coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here on Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, Joe Lisi. We're going to be joined by the Big Game crew in just a moment. Gabriel Morency, Scott Farrell, and Joe Ranieri. Just want to button up the rest of these picks. Your touchdown scores for me: Rashee Rice, Deebo Samuel, Eli Mitchell, and Brock Purdy. Jersey number of the first touchdown score, under 22.5. We've got Brandon Ayuk over 4.5 receptions. Any player to score 2 touchdowns? Yes, minus 185. Chiefs total touchdown yardage under 30.5. And then we took a chance at a 9-1 McCaffrey and Kelce to combine for 10 first-half catches, DRS.
I like where it's going here. And by the way, just getting the feeds here from the Super Bowl, it's time to ramp it up here. Going over the national anthems. We'll have some fun, see the coin toss. And I just want to see how this field presents itself, guys. We had some trouble last year in Arizona. We're not expecting that in Las Vegas.
No, let's start fast. Let's get some tempo. I want to see some passing attempts by Brock Purdy, Pat Mahomes. Really like the way this is situated right now.
Yeah.
This looks great.
I want to throw it over to our Big Game crew, and I'm going to throw it to the person most likely to have bet heads or tails, because I think I've heard him bet and cap this a number of times, and that would be Gabe Morency. Gabe, how are you?
Why? You know what? So you're talking about the biggest degenerate on the set, and I was like, I think he's going to me here.
Yeah.
Although I think Farrell might be a close competitor.
I already made 15 bets today on other stuff. Hockey. College hoops.
As far as the coin toss is concerned, it's been 2 of the last 3 years. The tails has won. I've always been more of a tails guy myself, but I got a feeling that it's heads this year. I'm just stating, but I wanted to comment on something you guys just talked about. I'm not so sure about the field, guys. You have a new field. This field was basically in the parking lot, Donnie, behind us all week. It literally was, it was covered up with a tarp, but it was outdoors. It was raining all week in Vegas. And I'll tell you what, guys, I don't know why they do this, but they spray painted the logo this morning again. So we had a slick track last year, guys. I'm just stating, I'm going to have my eye on the turf this year. Don't be so sure that there isn't some sliding going on.
So that was the grass you were talking about. I'm sorry, I was confused earlier.
I am the expert on grass, but so are you once again.
I will say, if it is a slippy surface like last year, that game had, 73 points in it, Joe?
Yes.
So would that be good for the total?
That would be fantastic for the total, but I want to kick it to Joe. Are you on the under or are you on the over in this matchup?
Yeah.
A lot of degeneracy sitting right in front of you here. I do think so. I think one way or the other, I think points are coming. I have
All right, Scotty, what are you looking for in this game? Do you have a strong lean on the side here?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Joe earlier that I think, and I said this in Vegas, that I think Kansas City will win the game, but I bet everything on San Francisco. Outright, -2, any over, and I have a boatload of prop bets, like somewhere around, I'd say about 15 prop bets that I'm riding on because I heard yours, KW, and they were delicious. And then I have some that I'm doing a lot like yours, like you were talking about guys having 2 tutties. I did McCaffrey at +275 twice. I did the 2-point conversion at +275, the longest field goal over 47.5, Purdy under 249.5, Kelsey a tutty, punt inside the 5 at 2 bills over, and then I also did Kelsey 100+ receptions at +275. Kelsey, a couple of TDs. I took a sprinkle at +0.05. Him as the MVP at +1,200, a sprinkle. And Debo, 25 yards rushing. And that was all I did. That was the full meal. Full meal plan.
Juicy. I like it.
It sounds delicious. I saw the tweet you sent out and just how long it was. You do 5 parts today on the
you
Super Bowl?
like my Super Bowl? It said Morency Super Bowl props, page 1. I said page 2. I got up to like page 5 and 6 and 7. All right, so there was quite a few. I don't know if we're going to put them up on the screen because I got so many of them. But let me throw a couple of now the kickoff is rapidly approaching. As far as first touchdown score, I got George Kittle. Got a good number at 12-1. I think the first score of the game is going to be a field goal. Okay. So the first score of the game is going to be a field goal. So sort of some early plays. A play that I talked about quite a bit through the week that I like. First offensive play of the game, rush play. 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, guys, the first offensive play of the game has been a rush play. I would expect them to hand off to McCaffrey if San Francisco gets the ball first. And like a very similar situation, I would expect Pacheco to get the ball if Kansas City. We should note that every team in the National Football League in the Super Bowl is deferred after winning the toss, going all the way back to the New Orleans Saints when they beat the Indianapolis Colts. And you remember, Sean Payton took the ball, and then he did an onside kick to start the second half.
Yep.
It's been 13 Super Bowls in a row, guys. So whoever wins the coin toss is going to defer.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. Donnie, any other late bets you're looking to get in on or anything catching your eye?
Yeah,
right side.
Right now. Just watching the boys coming out here. The 49ers coming out with their customary boom box here, looking very, very comfortable. In this
I got a free boom box on
we got
Friday.
One as well. They're beautiful items here, real fun, retro stuff, but that's what the 49ers come out to.
Bump box or a boom box?
The bump box is officially what it's called.
They need a boom box for as many points as they gave up since Christmas.
38-28. That's my prediction for this game. Niners.
A lot of points.
That's close to my final.
That's
it. 38-28.
That's my boy.
I'll say, I'm not afraid to say it. Kansas City's frauds. That's it. I said it. I think their defense are frauds. That's it. I said it.
Glad we got that.
I said it, not you.
Hey,
I said
I
it.
have a question. Did Carver High eat all the franchise?
Yeah.
I mean, honest to
I
Christ.
couldn't get off record. I tried to get
Honestly,
quickly.
like how many pieces can you eat?
Well, quickly, just so you know, there was a tractor trailer crash, unfortunately, where I pick up the. No joke. Where I pick up
excuses.
where I pick up the shrimp.
Scrape them up.
Where I get the shrimp cocktail, so I couldn't bring it for Scotty.
Oh God!
Our Super Bowl spread is good, but it's like a mob wedding here or something like that.
Yeah.
I was expecting chicken wings, pizza, maybe some nachos, Donnie. You know, traditional.
A lot of gabagool, a lot of hot
I came in here. It's like I went to a Goodfellas.
On the show, Canaan, they deliver the drugs in a Chinese food truck.
Yeah.
Same thing, seafood truck. You could have had it delivered.
I thought it was a little strange. You got a tray of brajol. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, how is this?
Buffalo chicken dip on the way if that's more normal.
The chicken tenders are cold, but the sauce is fantastic.
Pick it up.
Right side.
DoorDash a couple of shrimp.
Yeah. We might as well do the final scores. I know you guys are going to have all game.
Right side.
Long shots, but Gabe, I know you have the final score.
That.
What do you have?
Yeah, I'm all in, and I'm sticking to it. 27-23 San Francisco.
Over.
Pays 125-1.
Yeah.
So I bet that final score. I also played San Francisco to win 27-24. That's 80-1. And I'm not going to lie, it's like going to the racetrack. I figured, well, if the Chiefs win, give me the Chiefs at 27-24 as well. And that's 90-1. But I've got Kansas City winning this game. San Francisco beating them 27-23.
There you go. What do you have, Ranieri, final score?
24-20. I'm sticking with it. I don't care who wins. It's 27-20,
That's pretty
24 to
good. No
20.
pick in the game.
Don't care. I'm waiting to unload in the game. I think this is a true pick 'em. Everything I've got is invested in the first half.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes, and then we'll decide who wins this game.
I haven't the foggiest idea, but they do have chocolate-covered pretzels, so I'm good to go.
Really?
Right
Listen,
side.
San Francisco.
Pretty good one.
Right side.
I like San Francisco a lot to win the first half of this game.
Yeah.
I do. If you look at, and you know what a good prop is, actually, guys? If you like Kansas City, San Francisco to win the first half, Kansas City to win the game, plus 550. All right? If you look at Shanahan in big games, you look at the Niners, going back to even to the Falcons, 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, right? Dominant in the first half. I talked about this a lot this week, too. Patrick Mahomes, in the 3 Super Bowls that he's played in, he's never had the lead at the half once. They've either been down big or they were tied. The first time these two teams played, they were tied. So Kansas City's never won a first half bet in these 3 Super Bowls before. San Francisco are a great first half team. Give me San Francisco to win the first half.
And that is one of the main reasons I love the Niners, because no point this season have the Chiefs proven that they can come back. At no point this year have they done it. They haven't had to do it in the playoffs. I think the Niners are up early, and I think they're up for the whole game. The players are taking the field. We are hitting a quick break here as we continue our coverage of Super Bowl 58 on SportsGrid. Pro Football Today is live.
.47 is one of the hardest numbers to beat, period, for an NFL football game. A lot of combinations that can fall 47. You decide. Of course. You're getting great two-way action. That's what you want as the book. You don't have to move the number. Right. Biggest game of the year is the easiest game to book in the world.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing 1 touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with 1 touchdown pass. I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's one game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Scoring 19.7 points per game, 13.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. How can a center that is top 50 in scoring, first in rebounding, 7th in assists, and 8th in field goal percentage not make the All-Star team? That is such a huge snub for Domantas Sabonis.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
0 points scored in the fourth quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl, and the Niners were shut out.
Yep.
So in the 2 biggest games of the 2 Super Bowls, one as the coordinator, one as a head coach, he hasn't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. And I tell you what, if they don't, on Sunday, they're not winning the game, bro.
Exactly.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.